Hello, this is Johnny and welcome back. On my right side here I have two grafted Japanese maple trees, and on my left hand side here I have two Japanese maple trees that are grown from seed. In this video I want to talk about why commonly most Japanese maple trees that you purchase are going to be grafted and not grown from seed. So stick around and we'll dive into those details. So on this side I have an Acer palmatum butterfly, and I grafted this on June 9th of last year, 2023. And I'll do a close-up here of the graft union, but I still actually have some of the buddy tape on there that I need to go ahead and take off. But this graft has taken very nicely, and you can see the beautiful butterfly foliage right there and the variegation, kind of the twisty leaves with kind of serrated margins there on the leaves. I love this particular variety with the white and the pink and the green. Butterfly is one of my favorites, and I purchased the mother tree that I cut this scion from last year from a local nursery. But this one was one I personally grafted. Now, on this side, I have an Acer palmatum Mikazuki, and I believe I grafted this last year as well. It's hard to see. It looks like my date on my tag has faded, but this Mikazuki has also great variegation as well, just beautiful variegation. And you can see on this one, I'll do a close-up, but the graft union has healed very nicely as well. But when you graft trees like this is called asexual propagation because you're going to get a tree that is just like the mother plant. However, if I were to take seeds from various cultivars, and I did do that this year, and I'm going to have future content showing the variation that I get with all those seeds that I planted. But if I were to take seeds, for example, from the Mikazuki or seeds from various other cultivars and grow those, I might get some that look somewhat close to this or some variations of that, or I might get something completely different, both in leaf shape, leaf color, the patterns on the leaves, the growth height, the growth style, whether that be more of a weeping variety. You might even get some dissectum type varieties, even from a traditional bloodgood. I've done that over the years with most of my seeds in the past coming from what I believe to be a bloodgood Japanese maple tree. For example, these here, these do actually look pretty typical. These are seed-grown Japanese maples, these two. These look somewhat similar to a bloodgood Japanese maple. Of course, the leaf is shaped a little bit differently. It's a little thinner, things like that, but you have the general red color. But over the years, I've gotten a lot of different shapes and variations. In fact, I'm going to go grab a few different ones and show you some various colors that I have right now. And a lot of these will fade into different colors throughout the year. We're still pretty early here in the season. But for example, let me go grab a couple different colors based on growing from seed. Okay, so for example, here are 5 seed-grown Japanese maple trees that are somewhere probably close to 3 years old now. And they're growing up very nicely. But the seeds that grew this variation here, I believe these all came from what I believe to be a bloodgood tree. There are 2 different trees, one in my neighbor's yard and one in my yard, that I believe both to be bloodgood, and most of my seedlings came from those 2 trees. So I believe these all came from that. But you can see this one, but that's completely different than, for example, this one, which has reddish tips and green leaves and a more typical Japanese maple leaf shape. Then you have this particular one, a little bit more red with the green veining. Once again, some green veining and slightly different leaf shape there. And then you have this one, which is a little bit more typical of the average tree that I get. Once again, a good deep red color. And over the year, so we're still pretty early in the season, but over the year, some of these will change slightly. This one may turn more green. Some of these may fade into green, and some of them stay red. But you can see that you do have a variation here. I also, in the past, have had big variation in how tall and how fast they grew. Some seed-grown varieties grow really fast. Some grow much slower. So there's a lot of variation. Here's a beautiful seed-grown Japanese maple tree that I actually have in my personal collection here. And this one is probably going on 5+ years old. You can see here that it's got a pretty good thick trunk. So that's looking pretty good there. I would say it's a little bit over a 1/2 inch trunk. So good thick trunk. And I really love this particular one, the leaf shape. So it's a good deep red, and I believe it kind of fades into a bronzy green later on in the year, but this time of year, just an incredible red. And once again, kind of the jagged edges of the leaves there, the jagged margins, which look somewhat like a feather. So I do love that tree. So that's a good example of a variation that you get with seed-grown Japanese maples. Here's an example of an amber ghost that I've grafted. Once again, this graft is going to be just like the mother plant because it's grafted. So when you graft a tree, it's going to be just like the mother plant. Here's a peaches and cream that I grafted. And then I have various grafts across here of various cultivars that I've purchased. I purchased these last year. For example, here is an Acer Palmatum Purple Ghost. And you can see that those leaves are opening up and looking beautiful. Here is an Acer Palmatum Geisha Gone Wild. And those leaves are just beginning to open up as well, and that's a beautiful variegated variety as well. Definitely love that particular one. Here's a Hana Matoi variety, and this one's more of a dissectum variety here with a pink and white variegation. This one's an Olson's Frosted Strawberry. Over here I have a Grandma Ghost. I have an Orion or Orion. I'm not sure how that one's pronounced there. This one is called Shadava Gold, and it will be a lot more gold in the summer, at least it was last year. And this one is called Winter Flame. And it's got coral bark. It's a beautiful one here. But once again, when you come down here, you can see, let me move this up a little bit, you can see where that was grafted. You can see, once again, where this tree was grafted. Once again, if you try to grow these varieties from seed, you're not going to get something just like the mother plant. Now, of course, grafting is not the only way to get a Japanese maple tree that's like the parent plant. Here is an Acer Palmatum Alpenweiss, or Alpenweiss. I'm not sure how you say that there, but you can see how beautiful those leaves are, especially here in the spring. This is one that I did in an air layer, I believe like 2 years ago. So I did this as an air layer somewhere around 2 years ago, and it's really doing well, especially this year as it's getting established. So air layering is one particular way, and I do have a video showing my process air layering this exact tree, and I will make sure that I link that down below so you can watch that process. But air layering is definitely one way to get a tree like the mother plant. Another method that I've successfully used to grow basically clones of the mother tree is by growing Japanese maple trees from cutting. Now, this is less common for traditional Japanese maple trees that you buy. A lot of people that are into bonsai like to grow from cuttings, but this particular one is a pretty mature cutting that I believe this may have been 4 years ago, I'm not sure, but 3 or 4 years ago or so, I grew this from a cutting. And I mean, this one has grown extremely well. You can see there, no graft union, and that's something that is kind of nice if you don't have a graft union there, especially when the tree is young. It looks great. But beautiful amber ghost leaves, one of my favorite varieties. I love the ghost series, and this particular one is wonderful. So once again, if you do decide to grow Japanese maple trees from seed like I do, and I love it, just don't expect to get a tree that's exactly like the mother plant. You may get some that look somewhat similar, but you're not going to be able to call those the cultivar name. So for example, if I grow Bloodgood seeds, if I take an Acer Palmatum Bloodgood and I plant those seeds, I can't call those seedlings a Bloodgood cultivar. I can only call those a Bloodgood variety if I have grafted it, if I've done an air layer, or if I've grown it from cutting, or if I've done some kind of budding or something like that. I haven't experimented with budding yet, and I know some people do like tissue culture, but unless you do an asexual propagation method, you're not going to get a tree that's identical to the mother plant. However, if you do one of the asexual propagation methods, including the ones that I just talked about, then you can call that the cultivar name because it's essentially a clone of the mother plant. Now, different rootstocks can affect the growth of the tree a little bit as well. But in general, if you just use a typical Acer palmatum rootstock, you're going to get a tree that performs very similarly to the mother plant. And of course, it's going to have the same kind of leaves as a mother plant. With that being said, if you're not yet subscribed to this channel, I recommend that you subscribe because I have a lot of exciting content coming up this year as I grow out a lot more Japanese maples from seed in the shade house area that I've set up. And I'm going to be doing a lot of different propagation projects that you'll want to follow along with. But until next time, thanks for watching.